It's 2023 and Kylian Mbappe is in the shackles of Paris Saint-Germain. Because despite dominating Ligue 1, Paris Saint-Germain forgetting their passport anytime they got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League meant that he was always underperforming. Constantly in contract limbo, wanting to leave, all whilst having the power to probably deport Gianluigi Donnarumma because he practically owned the club as well at this point. PSG had ironically fueled the next best wonder kid into a beast that couldn't be tamed. Footballing pedigree so high that apart from Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, this was the biggest name you could recruit. A true Galactico. So when Real Madrid came calling in the summer of 2024 and signed him on a free transfer, the 80,000 people in attendance for his unveiling thought this was a match made in heaven. Things were finally back to the good old days after astute signings like Fede Valverde and Aurelien Tchouameni. Real Madrid were going out and getting the best the game had to offer. Because after all, this is Florentino Perez. But after an underwhelming start and concerns that he may not only be a bad fit for Real, but he may well make the team worse as a whole, is Kylian Mbappe genuinely the problem at the Santiago Bernabeu? I'll tell you what is a problem. Any flag that has a yellow or orange square on it. Brazil, yours is tilted to the side, so you guys don't count. I'm talking about an offside flag, okay? This man stepped off the plane for the Barcelona game, and he was already beyond the final man. Fucking hell. For fuck's sake, man. He could walk down to the bottom of the stairs in his own flat, and it's going to VAR, without any shadow of a doubt. This is one of the many things that Real Madrid fans and La Liga fans as a whole are already starting to question when it comes to the Frenchman. You see, Kylian Mbappe may not have had a big price tag, but he comes with a big reputation and certainly a big wage. After incredible performances in World Cup finals gone by and obvious good records in Ligue 1, everybody knows how quality Kylian Mbappe is. He scored 296 goals already in his career in just 389 games. He is a proven goal scorer at literally every level. And you may well look at his actual statistics for Real Madrid and wonder what the problem is. 6 goals in 11 La Liga matches for Real Madrid, 1 assist as well, honestly. 1 assist more than I was expecting from Kylian Mbappe. He scored in the Champions League, looked impressive in the Super Cup against Atalanta, was good against Stuttgart in the Champions League, decent against Milan, scored against Betis recently. But ultimately, the biggest test that Kylian and Real Madrid have had to face this season was against Barcelona, who have suddenly decided to actually be good again. Barcelona's Spotify rap may be pretty good, but I'll tell you for what, Kylian's definitely isn't. Because in that game, he was awful. I mean, if you wanted to look at SofaScore ratings, for example, and really judge how he'd been this season, again, you'd see the overall rating for the campaign, you'd think it wasn't too bad. But against Barca, he could not get a hang of Hansi Flick's highline at all. And no, I'm not talking about the kind of one that David Coots into. I mean the defensive highline. This man was getting caught offside for days. He's having offside compilations being made of him, for fuck's sake. Do you understand how crazy that is? 8 in 1 game is criminal. No matter how good Barcelona are at it, at some point you've got to make a well-timed run here, Kylian. And it's not like he doesn't have the pace to start a little bit further deeper once he realizes what Barcelona are doing. I mean, have you ever known a player to get pocketed by the linesman? And knowing how late offsides are being given by linesmen these days, he probably thought he was onside until a little bit later on in the day. Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me, man. Truthfully, though, it's not just offsides getting Los Blancos fans annoyed. Because if I'm a Real supporter and I see this guy take another free kick, I'm losing it. I'd rather have Gareth Bale taking one at this point. Bro's filming a Chris MD video. It's actually out of control. That Twitter page asking whether he scored a free kick in his career yet is eating good because he's attempting a free kick every single day. I don't even know how he's playing football this regularly. Rivaldo scored a free kick this season before him, and he's 57 years old. Real Madrid supporters might have to rally together here and try and get an assist to direct him towards what he's aiming at. Then again, they don't want to be behind the goal when he's striking a free kick. This poor girl got lamped and the game hadn't even started yet. It'll be time to run it back, just the Spanish version instead. On international duty, even Luca Dean is scoring them before he has. Leave the free kicks before the free kicks leave you. And I mentioned international duty. This situation in regards to his form is even bleeding now into the national team setup as well, where he's been dropped recently by manager Didier Deschamps for their most recent UEFA Nations League games. Now, he said he wanted to give him a bit of a reset, a little bit of a break, because obviously his fixture calendar is pretty hectic. But truthfully, I think he's using this as a bit of a kick up the backside to show that he isn't quite as indispensable as he may think for France. I'll be honest, Kylian will be left pretty confused seeing that Alain Saint-Maximin's got a call up before him when reading the next team sheet. If you're Kylian, you will be absolutely fuming, arriving for your flight, then getting a phone notification seeing that Randall Kolo Muani's on the flight instead of you.
I could blow the roof of this fucking airport.
Didier Deschamps is even talking to Ibrahima Konate about captaining the side in his absence, or generally speaking, moving forward. That has got to be a punch to the face as far as Kylian is concerned. To him, he is the star boy. He is the man. That's why he takes free kicks, even though he's not good at them. He's the Cristiano Ronaldo type, really, isn't he? Where he wants to be the main man. Even if he's not necessarily the right man for the job, he's leading by example rather than being a good leader, if that makes sense. And what, he's going to give it to Ibrahima Konate instead? Distracted down on the touchline watching Attack on Titan instead of actually playing at centre-back. So why is this situation so bad? Is it because he's smoking up shisha pipes whilst playing PlayStation with Ashraf Hakimi? All I know is Fede Valverde is going to be vexed when Kylian throws an elf bar at him for not playing the Frenchman in behind in training.
This Burnley fan fucking threw a vape at me.
As I said at the start though, like, things don't look too bad statistically. 6 goals in 11 appearances in La Liga is not shocking. To be honest, for a striker playing for Real Madrid that's second in the league, it's not great, I'm not gonna lie, but it's also not catastrophic. However, when you compare him to the rest of the big names, either at his club or at Barcelona, he's getting overshadowed. I mean, Vinny Jr. has 12 goal contributions in comparison to Mbappe's 7. To be honest, even Jude Bellingham doesn't have the numbers because he's playing a little bit further back these days, but he's probably performing a little bit better, so is Fede Valverde. Meanwhile, for Barcelona, and Robert Lewandowski's already got 14 goals in the league. Kylian's even getting outscored by Jose Perez, for fuck's sake. And for the first month, it wasn't really as if he was scoring electric goals. Now, I'm not particularly a believer, right, that you have to score bangers to be a good football player. There's such thing as being a poacher. A tap-in at the end of the day is still worth the same as a 35-yard bicycle kick. But the fact that quite a few of these were penalties or were kind of not very nice to look at goals was indicating maybe there wasn't too much in terms of confidence there, or that he wasn't exactly ripping the league apart because he wasn't scoring beautiful goals. One concern a lot of people had is that realistically, League on Burger King defenders would fall apart as soon as he even so much as thought of doing a step over. He could do whatever the fuck he wanted to, and realistically, it would land. Things are a little bit harder in La Liga ultimately. It's a better quality league. There's better teams that you're going to face up against. PSG hardly ever challenged. Will he be missing that? Would he want to go back to Paris Saint-Germain for a little bit of an easier task? Only he's going to go back, realise that they've all moved on to Bradley Barcola, and be concerned when PSG coaches start praising the youngster.
Right there, that's a good pass.
He's 21, right?
Yeah, he's 21. I'm 26 though. But that's a good pass for a backup quarterback for sure.
That's definitely the future of this franchise.
The future backup. Yes, sir.
Real Madrid, of course, boycotted the Ballon d'Or ceremony because they were so unhappy with how Vinny Jr. had been snubbed by Rodri of Manchester City to take home the prestigious award. Now, I've already made a video on the Ballon d'Or situation and how I thought it was a bit of an overreaction from Real Madrid anyway, but even if, let's say, it was justified, even if Rodri had had an underwhelming season, which, again, he hadn't. He's won the Premier League, he'd won the Euros, and been integral and consistent during both of those triumphs. That's not to take away from Vinny Jr. at all. He had an absolutely electric season, again, being very important in a La Liga victory for Real Madrid, but also a massive Champions League victory for Los Blancos, and of course scored in the final against Borussia Dortmund. Yes, he was disappointing at Copa America, but overall he had an incredible season too. He would have been just as worthy in my opinion. But even if by Real Madrid's logic this was the biggest robbery of all time, if by some miracle Carlo Ancelotti raising both of his eyebrows at the same time had still not seen L'Equipe give the award to Vinny instead, why on earth would Real Madrid then choose to bring in a player of the exact same mold as Vinny Jr., who plays in the exact same position as him? He's a left winger. That's just factually what he is. He's a left-sided forward that likes to cut in on his right and find space through explosive pace, unbelievable skill, and just really good decision-making in the final third, whether it be fierce strikes at a ball or great deliveries for his teammates. Vinny Jr. is class. Whatever you think about him off the pitch, he's absolutely perfect for that role. The problem is for Kylian Mbappe, he wants to do the exact same things. They don't just have similar characteristics, they have identical characteristics. If you look at Kylian Mbappe when he was at PSG, that is the exact type of player that Vinny Jr. was, and picking up basically the exact same positions down the left channel. Now, I'm sure you all know about this. You know, it's been talked about enough times that Vinny Jr., Mbappe, even Rodrigo to an extent, all like to play down the left-hand side ideally. Rodrigo is a little bit more versatile, so he can play over on the right-hand side if required. Kylian Mbappe, we thought, was a bit more versatile and could probably play down the middle, especially given he played there a lot in the early days of his career. But that is definitely one of the problems that's contributing to his lack of form here. He's just not used to being that number 9. He's not used to making those runs down the centre. He's not necessarily the hold-up play type of striker that France like to deploy, like Olivier Giroud back in the day. Ultimately, you can't Carlo Ancelotti has been cooking salad trying to fit all of these lot in the same team. And that's really, as well, another thing. I think, ironically, as much as there was all the talk of how Mbappe and Vinny Jr. would work together, ironically, it's actually the rest of the team that's suffering around Kylian too. Jude Bellingham was so impressive in his first season for Real last campaign, when he was obviously having to be a lot more advanced. He was always playing as a striker at times, but dropping deeper, and then making late runs into the box, and obviously getting a lot of goals as well. He's had to drop deeper entirely now into midfield, and he's still good, he's still great, obviously, for Real Madrid, but he's not having that same impact from an individual perspective as he was last season, because Kylian Mbappe is now in that space instead. On top of that, and ultimately, Kylian Mbappe is a luxury player. He's not the type that's going to run about and get 17 kilometers ran in a game and press from the front. He's going to dilly-dally around a little bit when it comes to his off-the-ball presence, but then he'll spring into life when the ball comes to him, and he can change the game at a vital moment. The problem for Real Madrid, again, is that's exactly who Vinny Jr. is too. To a little bit of a lesser degree, he still tries relatively hard, definitely more than Kylian Mbappe, but having both of them up front, in a front three where Carlo Ancelotti and Real Madrid's system from last year would require their attackers to actually work pretty hard off the ball, and the whole system almost completely falls apart. Real are known for their off-the-ball work ethic. If they're having to carry Vinny Jr. and Mbappe on their shoulders too, they're not going to be as impactful as a counter-attacking team as they were last season. It reminds me a little bit of Cristiano Ronaldo when he was under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United. There was a lot of emphasis on working hard, and ultimately Cristiano Ronaldo did not want to do that. Whilst he still provided some really important goals and important moments for United, especially in his first full season at the club, ultimately him being there, whilst there was the payoff of him scoring those important goals and just generally speaking being incredible, as a whole cohesive unit of a system, they weren't as good as they could have been had they had someone playing up front that was willing to put in the numbers in terms of pressing and kilometers ran. It's exactly the same situation as Kylian Mbappe. He's obviously got the ability, and he's going to show that at points during the season, but unless he's willing to work hard and adapt his game, it's not going to work properly. And then there's also the question of whether truly, and this is going to sound crazy, but hear me out for a second, he is really a big game player. At Paris Saint-Germain, how many big games do you have to play in League on a season? I mean, cool, you play Le Classique against Marseille. Marseille are always going to get slapped, realistically, by PSG on a normal day, right? Maybe once every 3 years, they're going to win a Ligue 1 game against PSG. But other than that, more often than not, you're not going to get challenged too much. I know PSG didn't win the league every single season that Mbappe was there, but let's be real, it's not too much of a challenge. As soon as the Champions League came around and PSG kind of always underachieved, could Kylian have done a little bit more in some of these games? For sure. But then you talk about World Cups, right? And we look at the 2018 final against Croatia. Absolutely stunning. At the age of 19, announced himself as one of the greats of the generation already as a teenager. And then at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, scores a hat-trick in the final against Argentina. But in the first half, was really poor. If he had turned up in the first 45 minutes, France wouldn't have been 2-0 down in the first place. And 2 of the 3 goals he scored were penalties. So yes, it's still going to go down in history as an unbelievable achievement. But if you were to be really nitpicky, then questions could maybe be asked. Plus, as I said, the one big challenge he's had so far this season, he was appalling against Barcelona. So what needs to change for Kylian Mbappe to be a success at Real Madrid? Well, first of all, he's not been a failure. So, not yet, anyway. As I said, 6 goals in 11 is not poor. He's still contributing, but at the end of the day, there seems to be a little lack of confidence in himself to play down the centre, or just outwardly, he just doesn't want to. Either way, somebody's going to have to give here, unless Carlo does simply want to play 2 strikers with Bellingham in behind and accept that Mbappe and Vinny are going to take up the same places, but that is just going to cause a massive lack of balance. If Kylian does want to be a success here, he's going to have to get used to playing down the middle. I think Carlo Ancelotti is going to have to change his tactical style just a little bit too, and everybody's going to have to compromise just a little bit, because ultimately in this sport at the elite levels now, you can't just rely on your ability alone. In the words of Bear Grylls when he's not too busy drinking his own urine, you have to adapt, improvise and overcome, and that's exactly what Kylian Mbappe is going to have to do if he's going to win over the fans at the Bernabeu. But what do you make of this situation? Is Kylian going to be a success at Real? Drop that down in the comments section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one, because it's not like he's a failure. It's not like he's absolutely honking up the gap, but for a player of his ability and his wage and his overall cost, I think Real fans could probably and would probably have expected a little bit more. Then again, it's his first season. We should probably expect a little bit of a transition. Is that what we're seeing now? If you have enjoyed this video though, feel free to slap a like on it, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. And if you want to support the channel, you can become a member by clicking the join button down below. Thanks to the members, as you can see on the screen, you get yourself some cool perks, like watching videos like these a little bit earlier than everybody else. But it's it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.